Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name's Joel McDowell. Today I'm going to try to tell you how I go about making a mixed media picture like this. It starts with some iridescent film and different ways to adhere it to the canvas, crumpling up other layers and applying them on top, followed by resin, epoxy resin, and then a pour or whatever type of image you want to put on top of it, followed by more epoxy resin. So here we go. Start by, I got this cellophane, iridescent cellophane off of Amazon. Start with the blank canvas. This particular piece I'm just using house paint mixed with Floetrol, like 1:1. Here's your Floetrol, just American Flood Floetrol. You're going to do just a regular, cover it up to the edges and move forward. Here we go. Now, there's different ways to adhere the first layer. You can start with the black. I suggest doing this over black. So you can either do what I'm doing here, which is put down a wet pillow and just stick the cellophane to it and let it dry, and it'll be adhered. Otherwise, if you start with the black canvas, you can apply what I use, which is the clear PVC glue, and do it that way. So here I'm laying down the first sheet. You don't have to worry about getting a little extra paint or glue on top of it. It comes off after it's dry. So I'm just kind of getting rid of some of the excess paint underneath of the iridescent cellophane. I prefer to get the cellophane in the rolls. If it comes folded, then there's creases in it, and you actually got to cut it up into pieces like I did here to get rid of the creases. So if you get it in rolls, it's much easier to work with. You don't have to try to fit it together. You can just put one piece across the entire canvas. It comes in like 16-inch wide, some of them. So you got to shop around. I bought a bunch of different types. I've been playing with them, mixing different colors together, etc., different orders. This is about the 10th one I've been working on. I don't have the process down perfectly, but I'm getting there. I had to take a phone call from my wife there. Okay, so I got my first 4 pieces on there. That's what it looks like after it's kind of set up. So I let that dry like 24 hours. And it doesn't look like much yet, but you got the base down. So it's kind of green from one angle, blue from another. Next thing I'm going to do is do another layer, but I'm going to crumple it up. Crumpling up increases the flip-flop or color shifting because it's a different color, different angles. So the more angles you have on it, the more crumpled up it is, the more reflective and color changing it is. So here I'm using a clear coat spray, which doesn't matter what kind, it's all basically the same thing. It's like a lacquer clear coat. You spray it on there. I'm just kind of demonstrating what I'm doing there. But you got to put a good amount of that stuff on, and it's stinky. I sprayed to both pieces of the material, the panel on both sides, put it down, pick it back up, put it down, pick it up, put it back down, then it seems to stick pretty good. So here you see I got 4 sheets of the stuff on there. I taped it around the edges and put a piece of reinforcement on the back so it doesn't sag. Now I tape around the edges and I put a little bevel up about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. I fold my tape inwards to give it a little extra strength. Now I'm applying my first coat of epoxy. At the end of this video, I'll show you some finished pieces so you can see what you can do with this process. It's pretty much limitless because you can either apply like a pour on top of it, which I've done. This one I poured and then I removed paint from the pour to reveal this effect that's underneath it from the iridescent cellophane. You can also do like a chiaroscuro, which after you have it looking like this and the resin, first coat of resin is dry, you could put a black pillow on it and remove paint to give you your image. You can also just apply an image with the stencil, roller, paint, what have you. So here I turned out one of my lights to check the resin from the side because that's about the only way you can make sure there's no pinholes or dimples or that I missed an edge. You got to make sure you got those edges real good. I'm tipping it to make the epoxy run to the edges. So here it is, that stage 1 is done. So now I'm back after that's dry, and what I do here is I have like 14 ounces of just plain Floetrol. Okay, so I'm gonna just, and the reason I'm not coloring the Floetrol is I want that Floetrol to dry clear so you can see the reflective iridescent film underneath it. Now here I'm holding up this Pintrol, which is it's a wood conditioner. It acts like silicone, and I put 4 drops in each color. There's probably like 3 ounces of each color mixed. Then I got a split cup divider. It's got 7 slots in it. And here I'm trying to decide which colors I want next to each other. The reason you got to decide exactly where you want your colors in these cups is the slots on the outside of the cup they have less volume than in the center. So you want the most prominent color to be in the middle, and then flank it with the next prominent colors you want, etc., etc., etc. Because on the outside of the cup, it's not going to hold as much. Blow the dust off. I'm ready to put my Floetrol down. As you see some orange and yellow discoloration, that's caused by the clear coat reacting with the cellophane. It's kind of cool, it's unpredictable, but I like it. Now the idea was to put an image on here over the Floetrol so that when it dried, you would see the background, which did not work as well as I had hoped. I ended up, when I tipped to make the image flow, it ended up pretty much covering the whole thing. I wasn't happy, so I improvised, which is what you got to do. You can't give up. Now you can see part of the square sticking up from one of the sheets. That wasn't applied as well as it could have been, but in the end, you put enough epoxy resin on it that won't show up. So here I'm doing the manual ring pour with that split cup. Going for the spiral. I got a lot of paint. Probably put too much on it. That's why there wasn't enough negative space, which would have allowed the background to show through. So I'm not really too impressed with that. I'm going to keep going. just sped up a lot and it's kind of jumpy, but this video was like an hour long before I started to edit. So that's why a lot of it is sped up at least 4 times. And wanted to give a shout out to my sister Sherry, lives in Nicaragua. She got a hold of me and said that she's been watching my videos. She really likes them, and I appreciate that. That's awesome. So anyway, this is what it looks like. Now theoretically, that gray part, when it dries, should be clear and you should see the background, which is what I was going for. But as you'll see when it dries, that really didn't happen. I just got too much paint on it. So that's the end of that step. Now here you'll see this is what it looked like before it dried. I wasn't liking the looks of it, so I put this comb together. It's 2 big combs, and I just taped them together, and I did a swath across it at an unusual angle just to make it different. And it's still kind of ugly, but it's kind of cool. It's different. Keep in mind, this is just the background. Now I'm going to do the negative relief. So I'm kind of just jamming this out. This is the fun part. Once you start doing this, there's so much paint on there, it keeps flowing back into the center of those lines, so you have to go over it and over it and over it and over it. It probably takes at least a half hour, 45 minutes before it stops flowing back into it, so that you actually have your basic final image. Here I want some big ones across the side, so I use my thumb. Giant thumbs look really good for that. Now I'm going back over it and doing those swaths across the skinny ones really gives it a 3-dimensional effect. So you keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now you can imagine all the different ways you could do this. I mean, the different color combinations, the different types of pouring, ring pours, ribbon pours, what have you, any way you wanted to do it, and then put a pattern. So here it is, wet. I added these black triangles to give it a little bit of a definition. And after the epoxy's cleared with better lighting, it's really 3D. Here it is on the wall. Here's another one here. And here's another one I did called Nautica. It's really cool. This one's called Baker's Dozen. You see the orange? That's from the clear coat. Here's one that's like a gator pattern. Pretty cool. And here's just a floral pattern. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. And thanks again to the Surf Zombies for the awesome music. Appreciate it. Go check them out.